Hi, I'm Fox. Any pronouns. Nicolas Cage's character in Willy's Wonderland is autistic, and I accept nothing else. Now, I could discuss the movie as a whole, go in depth about the beautiful scenery, fun action sequences, animatronic designs, plot, etc. I won't, though. I'm just here to share my delight at such an obvious and overt autistic character allowed to be a badass action horror hero. Let me explain who Nicolas Cage's character actually is to give some context. He is the janitor. That's it, no other name. Even the credits call him that. He never tells anyone his name. He doesn't say a single word throughout the whole run of the movie. That's right, this man is nonverbal and frankly the best nonverbal autistic rep in a movie I've ever seen. Yes, that bar is low, but this is still a good movie, trust me. Shady folks tell him he has to clean up a weird abandoned animatronic-filled building overnight? Not a word. Those animatronics come to life and attack him? No quips, no curses, nothing. A teenager has just snuck into the building to try and get revenge on these animatronics? He is silent. Of course, simply not speaking isn't in and of itself autism. Some people are just mute. Muteness, however, doesn't explain his strict adherence to a routine, regardless that he's in the midst of a battle. After he's been attacked by the first animatronic, he just goes back to cleaning once it's been defeated. And then he goes on his scheduled breaks, drinks the exact same drink, and hyperfixates on this pinball machine until break time's over. Everything is ramped up to a ridiculous 10, but it all flows naturally. Like, yeah, okay, this guy is dead set on following this strict routine no matter what else is going on. Very neurodivergent of him, can relate. Another detail is his seemingly stone-faced demeanor throughout most of the film. A common thing for autistics is that a lot of people will not be able to read our emotions well. We come off a lot of the time as cold or blank, despite how we actually feel. I think that effect can get doubled when someone is nonverbal. At least that's what it feels like from my own personal experiences. Maybe the biggest sign of autism is how everyone else reacts to him, ally and enemy alike. No one can figure him out, he's considered eccentric or crazy, or sometimes even stupid. The janitor is considered weird by these people who he does no harm to. Minus the animatronics, but that's self-defense. But nobody can get a good read on him, and it's really not until the very end that any other character, Liv, our other protagonist, seems to really click and understand him in any way. I've seen a lot of other autistic people on the internet also relate to the janitor. It's really easy to see ourselves in a guy like this, especially when the narrative respects him. And this is a character who is so heavily autistic coded, and not in an underhanded or mocking way. We want to claim this guy, he rocks. Directorial or authorial intent do not matter here. I do not care if they set out to create an autistic character. In fact, I'm positive they had no idea of what they had inadvertently created. All that matters to me is that the janitor clearly shows a lot of mannerisms that resonate with autistics, myself included. There are not a lot of horror movies, or really movies in general, that depict autistic characters. Oftentimes when they do, it's unfavorable. In fact, many movies with autistic characters aren't necessarily in the horror genre, but certainly are horrific. Like the recent 2021 movie Music by Sia. It depicted flat-out abuse against its autistic character as a good thing, which is a horrific reality for many autistic people who don't have support or loved ones that respect them. In most depictions of autism, the autistic characters are children, usually white, usually boys, usually little more than props in the narrative. Their autism is used as drama or to put a wedge between other characters who feel burdened by the other's autism. Sometimes their only growth is to become less autistic to the viewer, such as the nonverbal character in 2020's Come Play, who finally spoke to his mother while also making eye contact, something that previously he had been unable to do. Just as in many depictions of autism, the autistic character has little more to do than garner pity or conquer their autism and conform to what is expected and desired from them by a cruel, unbending, unempathetic society. And the janitor is more than that, though. He's an active participant and flat out the most capable character in the whole film. He's an adult who's allowed to be badass and save the day himself instead of having to be rescued. He's not forced to overcome his autism either. The janitor is just himself, and he doesn't need to change in order to stop the homicidal animatronics trying to eat him. The janitor is autistic, and that's not the horror. Another autistic stereotype is the savant, a character who otherwise has some sort of developmental disorder or societally unwanted neurotype such as autism, but just a real genius in some other narrow aspect. Think Rain Man, Or Kazan from Cube, who's mostly nonverbal, speaking rarely, treated as a child by most of the other characters, but is just really smart with prime numbers, which helps them navigate the deadly place they found themselves in. The janitor, however, doesn't display anything like that. Yes, he brings an old arcade machine to life, but that doesn't really help anything. And yes, he is exceptionally good at fighting the animatronics, but that's just a normal character trait. Possibly since we see dog tags hanging in his car, he might have been military. Regardless, it's not just a special little useful thing about him that other characters can exploit for their own gain. Willy's Wonderland beautifully subverts the trope of helpless, pathetic autistic who must be protected and sheltered and has no inner self. He is the one who does the saving. He's the one who saves himself. He does this while still being autistic. Liv originally entered the restaurant with a group of friends to save him. In doing so, she put her friends in danger and herself, and really didn't help the janitor, truth be told. He did not need her saving. And in fact, she was a terrible savior. In the end, they see eye to eye and form a bond, and he's easily able to communicate to her without words. So really, even if it was not intended for the janitor to be autistic, he is. And that representation, which respects the character and shows just because he's not like other people doesn't mean he's less of a person, is so important. And hey, if you don't agree or want to say that there's no way he could be autistic, that I'm reading too much into this, eat my puppet ass and stay mad about it. Bye! Oh, and thanks for joining my lucid screaming.